Hi. So I started following Ferris a long time ago. I bet he only had a few hundred subscribers. And I look at him now and it's like, oh my God, he's like an adult. Anyway, he just did a video, Stop Shooting Raw, Seriously Stop. And I agree with his conclusions, but I don't agree with his arguments. And I think it amazes me, it always amazes me how you can have a ton of expertise in one area and then even in an adjacent area, which is very close to it, which is video recording, let's just say how cameras work, really not understand it at all. Have a lot of misconceptions. So the reason he's right is that everything we see is 8-bit. 8-bit on your phone, 8-bit on your TV, 8-bit on your computer. So if you shoot well, if you shoot an 8-bit well, get the exposure you want, you're good. That's all you need. You never need any more bits. Because the real difference between RAW and what you see on the screen is not, as he says, compression or resolution. It's bit depth. In a raw data from your camera, each pixel will record either a red, green, or blue, depending on a filter in front of it. It's like a stained glass little filter. And in RAW, in 14-bit RAW, let's just say, that's essentially 16,000 values. But before you'll ever look at it, it will be transcoded down to 8-bit, which is 256 values. So he's correct. If you have 256 good values, and again, you can change the colors all you want, and he would be happy to do it, you're good. You never need more data. You never need 16,000 values. But he was wrong when he was saying, oh, well, I've done some tests and, this is going to blow your mind. You really don't need RAW. I can get the same color out of RAW or, log footage or whatever. That's incorrect. Because when you, it gets into the weeds a little bit, but the camera records a linear data. So when he said, oh, log RAW, you never put log and raw in the same sentence because raw is linear. It is never log. Log deals with our physiological perception of color, where dark colors, we don't really discern the differences between them very much, and the same thing for very bright colors. So because we do that, we generally do a curve where we sort of like boost up some of the dark colors and pull back some of the bright colors to match our perception of changes in brightness. So when you're editing something, like your display, it probably has a 2.2 gamma or something like that, right? I forget what it is. So when you shoot something, it's linear, but the camera will generally apply a log curve no matter what you shoot in your camera. So when you hear that, oh, well, you got to shoot log in your camera, your camera was shooting log from the beginning. The only time a video camera doesn't shoot log is when it's shooting raw. So it shoots a log anyway. You just decide the curve. Now, out of the factory, if I shoot a standard profile in this camera, a color profile, the engineers have set that, okay, it's going to record 256, we're going to transcode down to 256 bits of each color, red, green, and blue, and we're going to set it so it's going to maximize the color accuracy and reduce the noise as much as possible. So if you shoot 8-bit, or just any video actually from here, right? You shoot a video from here. The 10-bit, by the way, is really just fake 8-bit, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. If you shoot 8-bit on here and you give the footage to Casey, it'll never look any different than something that's coming from RAW. So if you have the most advanced freaking RAW camera right next to it and you both expose the same and you give the footage to Casey, he's going to give you the exact same results whether it's raw or it's this thing. There'll be no difference because, again, you always end up with 8-bit. However, what the camera makers decide to do is that sometimes, especially when you had this dystopian science fiction stuff coming out, the makers like, okay, how about giving them a look that you would get from RAW? So what if you're making a dystopian science fiction movie, you take the raw footage and you say, you know what, I don't really care about the midtones that much. I want to get the clouds in, and I want to get detail under the desk, let's just say in the darks, right? And I want to get the sort of washed out look, but a lot of dynamic range from shadows to the clouds, right? So they would apply a stencil log curve in post, they would edit it, and they would create that look for you, right? So that was good. And then the camera manufacturers, oh, what if a person wants to make a science fiction movie, a dystopian science fiction movie with their camera? They can't shoot RAW. How they can get that look? They don't want super color accuracy and less noise. They don't mind the noise. They actually just want that wide look. So they put a log in it. And what the log does, because it's 8-bit and you only have 256 values, they say, okay, we're going to take out some of the values, in between values in the middle, and we're going to put them in the high end and the low end. So you don't notice it because you want that dystopian look. So even though it's taken some of these values from the center to use at the end, you don't care. And that's good. But where Casey is wrong, where he said, oh, well, if you shoot log, you never have to worry about it. No. He said, oh, I can get the same results if I have raw or log. That's not true. If you shoot log, an aggressive log profile, you are baking in noise and you're removing color. Again, if you want the look, that's great. But if you don't, you can't recover it later. You would need raw. And so I disagree with him about that. But still, who does that? Even if you shoot regular 8-bit, just has a camera out of the factory, he'll still be able to give you that dystopian look, I think. So, and you won't have all the noise and everything. And if you change your mind, like, I don't want the dystopian look in this scene, I want the skin tones to look really good, he can give it to you. But anyway, the bottom line is, yeah, I totally agree with him. Like, you don't need raw. You only need raw if A, you might want a dystopian look, or you might want a truly saturated look, but you don't know. That's why you shoot raw, to get either one of those looks, that you're not locked in. Again, you'd be locked in on the camera if you shoot log with 8-bit, so you get that flexibility. Or if your exposure is a little bit off and you need to get those 16,000 values and pull out some values, because let's say you underexposed it. So if you underexposed it, let's just say the values from 1 to 10, right, all might just be 10, right, because you underexposed it. But if you had 16,000 values, in raw, you might have, a 1, a 5, a 10, a 15, 20, you know what I'm saying? And so you can pull some detail out of that data. But again, if you shoot correctly, if you expose correctly, you're never going to need it. So although raw can, save some exposure stuff, I agree with him. Hey, just get the exposure right the first time. And the other thing is, even in 8-bit, you still are going to have a lot of latitude to bring up some shadows and bring down some stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't need exactly all those 8 bits. So you have that too. So I just wanted to do a video to say, yes, I agree with his conclusions, but he doesn't understand camera data. It has nothing to do with resolution. It has nothing to do with compression. It has to do with bit depth. How many bits per pixel? The other thing is that raw data, again, you're getting those values, red, green, and blue values from each pixel. In anything, even the ProRes that he talks about, that's you're getting red, green, and blue debayered, put into one pixel together. The other thing about ProRes is some of the very higher ones are very close to to raw in their dynamic range. In other words, you get sort of those, their versions of ProRes, which can get like 12 to 14 bits of raw data into them, but they're full pixels. And he showed a thing where he's showing the screen, he says, oh, see, there's no difference between raw and this other stuff. That was wrong. If you go look at the screen, I'm not going to spend the time to go find it, whatever, you'll see the scale goes up to 124. It's 10-bit. It's showing 10-bit. If you're showing a scene with a lot of dynamic range in RAW, and you had that scaled in DaVinci, I don't use DaVinci. I'm not an expert like him. I can barely operate this stupid software. But you know, if you actually looked at it properly on a scale to 1 to 16,000, right? You compared the raw data against 8-bit data, you would see a huge difference. So he wasn't operating the software correctly to show that difference. And that's because, again, everything ends up in 8-bit, so why would he? Why would Casey like grade in 14-bit? You're never going to see it. You're going to see everything in 8-bit. And that the DaVinci was showing 10-bit is, yes, 10-bit, but it's really, again, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but it's really just like sort of like 8-bit with decimal points, so that the colors, the grading of some of the colors don't blotch as much. But you'll never see it after compression in YouTube and Netflix or anything like that. So anyway, bottom line is, Casey did a great video. I couldn't agree with him more. Stop shooting raw unless you again, you want to have flexibility in maybe using bad data at the below or the top to bring into your image in the future. You might want to do that. Or B, you might be worried about if your exposure is a little bit off, you can save it a little bit better with raw. Otherwise, don't need it. And he's absolutely correct on that. And had nothing to do with resolution, nothing to do with compression. Again, it's just all about bit depth. So I think that's it. Yeah, I'm at 12 minutes. Thanks for watching. Bye.